you're the authority in your own life. You get to decide what fits for you, what works for you. So I put out the intention that I receive the best, most important, beneficial, helpful, supportive information to share with you. Whatever you want to keep from that and take in, great. And whatever doesn't fit for you, great. Maybe it'll fit in 3 months or a year, or maybe it'll never fit. Who knows? You'll get a recording of this so you can listen again and again if you like, or listen, in 6 months. So, do you have any questions before we get into it?
No, no, I think I'm good. I'm excited.
Okay, good, good. Have you ever had a reading before?
No.
Oh, wonderful. And do you have any questions or struggles that you're dealing with in your life right now, or things that you would like insight on?
I would say yes. It's most related to work. So I
Mhm.
I quit my job last year and then I just started my own business and I've been just busy, but I do card readings for myself. My mom
Ooh.
has her own methods and everything tells me slow down. There's still something to process and I just cannot find it.
Okay,
But
all
I
right.
feel like that's what's keeping me back in the business because
Yes.
yeah.
Right, because you're working on it and it sounds like you're ready to do the things and all that. Okay, great. I will definitely look into that and see. Hopefully, I can help you with that. Find out if there's anything blocking you or the business and all of that good stuff. Anything else you want to say or share about that, or anything else that you're curious about?
No, I think that's the thing
That's
that
the
I'm
big
like,
thing. Okay, great.
thank you.
You're welcome. All right. And as I said, I'm going to close my eyes, but you can keep yours open or closed if you wish. I know there will be more, but the first few things that I'm going to share that are coming up, I don't know if you feel this way consciously, but I do feel that there's a little bit, I don't know if it's with your parents or someone else in your family, a little bit of the expectation of how they're going to see what you're doing, how they're judging what you're doing, whether or not they are having thoughts about what you do, how fast you do it, how successful you are about it. I feel that there's some element of familial. I'm going to use the word judgment. I don't know if it feels that way to you consciously, but it does feel that some of what you're working with is almost a performance to avoid judgment from someone or multiple people in your family. So that's one aspect that I feel of what is happening with you, or what's in your energy field right now. Another thing that I feel that's quite in contrast to that, I I would call this, it feels how when little bunnies are just jumping around. It's that early springtime energy of bouncing and jumping and excitement, and just also the adorable cuteness of bunnies, and that the way they have unbounded energy. That I feel that about you with what I think it's somewhat what you're doing. And maybe this is also a little bit of your nature of just being joyful and having lots of energy and lots of this springtime exuberant, ready to go, ready to begin, ready to start type of feeling. Does that feel true to you, any of
Yep.
that? Yeah. Good, good. Are there any family members who have an expectation about how you're doing right now? Did that part of it, does that ring a bell or not so much?
They definitely used to, and maybe unconsciously it's still there. Or like you
Mm.
said, maybe I perceive it even though it's not there anymore.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yes, yes, maybe so. I'm gonna keep on seeing what else there is to see and what else there is to share with you. I'm gonna start describing a physical sensation, but I feel it also relates to an emotional state. So you may or may not have these actual physical symptoms. But even though I know that you were excited to have your own business and leave your job and do this work, I get a feeling in your life of a sense of loneliness or being out on your own. And it feels like this hollow cavity in your chest almost of I wouldn't exactly describe it as an ache. And it feels that the sense of loneliness, I don't know if it's the lack of coworkers or people being around you, but it also feels that emotionally, to some degree, it feels like you've set down this solo path and you're the only one walking through these empty, windy woods or empty pathway down an empty city street. And it's just you by yourself, and it doesn't feel that there's the warmth or the community and the companionship that you desire at this point in time in your life. Does being in business feel lonely ever to you?
Yes, yes. So I actually wrote about this a lot. Like
Oh
when I
yeah.
like from the purpose of my business, I want to create communities, and I feel sometimes like
Mm.
I want the people around me. So yes.
Oh wow, wow. Okay, yes. All right, so let me look into this more. So your help me understand a little bit. Your business is actually creating communities.
I am a yoga teacher,
Ooh.
so I would love to have just people around me who I can help on their journey. But
Mm-hmm.
yes, right now it's more like I'm discovering more about myself, but not really together with other
Mm-hmm.
people. So it is kind
Mm-hmm.
of like a lonely place.
Yes, that is lonely. I'm glad that you're sharing this all with me because now it's so funny. Even though I know there's that loneliness there, now it just feels like fireworks or shooting stars coming to Earth where you are, of like little zings of light. So I'm gonna see I'm gonna see what that means and where that goes, but that feels like a very positive sign to me. So I know you said you wrote about this somewhat. I'm one of the things that I'm getting for you is this very strong urging or calling to keep on writing about that or sharing about that and really talking about the loneliness of either starting a business or building a community when there isn't one. Or also, I do especially feel like even in the field that you're in of yoga, I know where I am, it seems there are the yoga studios, and then there are yoga teachers who they almost work as like a freelancer. They do some classes here, some classes there, but it doesn't, I to me that also feels like there can be some level of a lot of work and loneliness and effort to have that type of work life business because it inherently entails a lot of internal or intrinsic motivation, and just because somebody loves yoga and loves doing that work doesn't mean they're extremely motivated to go out and find the place to do the class and get people to come to the class. And I don't know if this is true where you are, but to me it seems like there's a lot of freelancing type of work that goes into being a successful yoga teacher unless you find a place that just hires you. And maybe that happens in some studios as well, that they just hire someone to be staff who teaches the yoga classes. But is that something that feels like it could be a topic that you write about, of the actual struggles of being a yoga teacher, making it, or doing the yoga lifestyle in a way that's also earning an income and having impact and that type of thing?
Yeah, yeah. Like I know that I have so much to offer, but I struggle with finding the people that need me.
Mm.
I would say that's what it is.
Okay, yes, yes. All right, let me look more into this. Do you have any desire to own a studio of your own at one point? Or is it more the online, either yoga classes or mentoring or coaching or private sessions? Like, what is your dream for this way that you're helping people?
I'm not sure, but lately what comes up a lot is I live in a beautiful country,
Mm,
and I would love
wonderful.
to have people come here to just,
Oh,
have that journey of finding your beautiful true self inside. And I would love to do
yes.
that. But that's like such a big thing right now to me to like even comprehend, I would say.
Yes, yes. Oh my gosh. I love what you're saying. So I'm going to run with this. Sometimes what I do is I share possibilities. But if I start going down a path where you're like, that is not a possibility I care about, that's okay. Just tell me, bring me back. We'll go down another path because I do feel you have many options. One thing about what you just said that I delight so much, and I can feel the tinglings all over my body. So that tells me also this could be a fruitful path for you, is in whatever way that you're sharing with other people, sharing this beautiful country that you live in, sharing, you know, I don't know what season it is where you are, but let's say 6 months from now, you're doing some retreat type thing that you're the host and it's a experience your beautiful life retreat, and the people are in charge of getting themselves there, their own flight. But maybe you can set up a thing where it's a few days with you and maybe other teachers if you want, and maybe tours of experiencing the place where you live, learning about that environment. And I also, it almost feels like, if I'm picturing social media content, it almost feels like travel meets yoga lifestyle, because I don't know where you live, but I do agree with you that I can just tell that is the truth. It is beautiful, and that enough people don't know about it. And so maybe some of this is, come visit this beautiful place. Let me tell you, here's the best airport to fly into. Here's where I want you to stay. And I know that some of this is maybe not exactly the yoga stuff, but it's quite possible that some of the people who want to come to learn from you, they need the logistics spelled out for them, or the vision. So it's like, I could see you doing a video at a nice place to stay that's near you. And then maybe there's a few things of you doing yoga in the park, and you talking about how the beautiful place where you live, how it feeds your soul and makes you have a beautiful life. What do you think about, does that feel like it could, I don't know if you've done anything like that already, but how does that feel for you?
I have not done anything like that before, so it's like in the future. But yes, I'm like, if I could put that in the world, I think like yes. But what I also feel
Uh-huh.
is that there's just some kind of like wall between me and that. And I can
Mm,
just look at it, but I cannot have it or cannot
mhm,
do it. And I just
mhm.
cannot figure out what the block is.
Yes, okay. And I'm gonna look at that right now. Whew. Okay. I am gonna go back to this feeling I was talking about before. I'm going to share with you this, but it's also making me think of a time I had a similar experience. When this came up for me, I was very surprised, because I wouldn't have told somebody this is how I feel. But once it came into my awareness and I sat with it, I was like, okay, there is some of that that's true. And so I looked into it and I dealt with it. So back to this lonely feeling. To me, it feels that there's a loneliness in your heart, in your being, or in your soul, however you want to put it. And the ache of it is so great that there's a part of you who believes that even if you achieve this successful business and the people are coming and the people are working with you, that you'll still have that ache of loneliness in you. And that even when you have what you want, it won't fill the whole, or I'm saying whole, it won't feel that empty feeling. And so there's a bit of this, it's not even worth, I do think it is worth it, but what's playing out is it's not even worth doing it, because I'm still going to feel the lonely ache. And am I really ever going to be happy question, even when I have everything that I want. That's, and I feel that this is a big kind of heavy thing that I'm telling you. So I apologize if either this doesn't feel accurate or it feels like a lot. So I'll give you a chance to talk as well. But so when this surprising thing came up for me, and it was a very similar thing about 6 months ago, it came up in a meditation, and I was like, whoa, out of left field, didn't know that was there. And so I just sat with it for a few days and I had compassion with myself. And I said, okay, I'm gonna release. For me, it was the I don't deserve to be happy. And I was like, I really do deserve to be happy, but it was in me in some way. And so if if you could let yourself feel and acknowledge and say, okay, I acknowledge that there's some loneliness I feel. I acknowledge that there's some fear that I feel. What if I create this life and I'm still not happy and I still feel lonely? And have some moments of quiet, loving contemplation with yourself and letting yourself feel that. And then I also think if you can find ways of creating community now before the business is for sure all moving and going and money flowing in and all of that, if you can find those people who, when you meet them, it feels like, as I was saying before, those shooting stars or fireworks. Not that you're always going to meet somebody and it feels like fireworks, but people who, when you're around them, you really like and you feel that life is good. A few more of those people in your life, I think, and start having that feeling of, I do have community. And maybe you join someone else's community to get that feeling so that it starts giving you that feeling. And then it seems to me it'll be so much easier to build it and bring it forth when there's more happiness and a sense of community and companionship that you already feel.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. What I'm thinking about now is that I think that's also been something. So last year I quit my job because I had a burnout and I was left
Mm.
with this silence. And since then that has been like a word that's like keeps coming up. And I just cannot be silent. Not in the sense of like me being silent, I'm good at listening, but
Yes, yes.
I'm not good at being surrounded by silence. So I
Oh,
feel like sometimes I do things just for the sake of not being in the silence.
yes,
And
yes.
I
I
feel
know what
like
you mean.
if I go do all of these beautiful things, I still have not, I don't know, been in the silence.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't
Yes.
know how to be in the silence.
Yes. Well, here's what I think might be helpful is I know exactly what you're meaning. Now I'm getting the goosebumps all over. So I know that you're speaking your truth. When I have something like that to do, I try and find a period of time where it's not going to be the whole day. Like I like to do it in the later in the day, maybe after dinner. And so I've got a full belly. I know I'm going to bed soon. So if things go really downhill, I'm just going to sleep. And so maybe a few hours before sleep, I'll let myself say, all right, for the next 20 minutes, 30 minutes. I wouldn't go more than 30 minutes. I'm just gonna, for me, sometimes it's sadness. I'm just gonna let myself feel sad. I'm just gonna let myself cry or feel lonely or whatever and see what happens. And I will also, I always have pen and paper. So if there's something like that that you're thinking, okay, I'm gonna sit in silence, but I'm going to have a sketch pad or a guitar or something nearby.
Does nature know something about manifesting that you don't know? What do the trees know about manifesting that you really could utilize? There's so much that the flowers, the seeds, the trees all have to share with you about manifesting. I recommend you sign up for my free workshop. Start learning about how to manifest by working with nature. This is one of the master secrets that people who are amazing manifestors, they're working with the laws of nature. Unfortunately, most of us in school, we might have learned some science facts, but we don't know how nature works. I'm a nature expert. I have studied nature both in a professional capacity and spent dozens and hundreds of hours with it in a personal and spiritual capacity. I want you to learn how to work with nature, how to deeply connect to nature, and how to make nature work with you to manifest the things that you want so deeply in your life, whether that's love, whether that's a fulfilling career, whether that's a home, anything that you want to manifest, working with the natural world can help you with that. Click below to sign up for my free workshop, and I will see you there.
Yeah, okay. I'm feeling it in my heart now. If you have any creative outlets, having those materials by you, saying, I'm going to give myself, maybe you start with 15 minutes, 15 minutes of silence. When it feels like too much, I'm going to pick up my guitar and play, or pick up my whatever. I'm going to go chop veggies and arrange a beautiful platter. Whatever that kind of gets you feeling good again, that's a creative outlet. And then just let yourself acclimate to the silence. And it also makes me think about meditation. For some people, when they first start meditating, they cannot do silent meditation. I don't even typically do silent meditation most times. And I've been meditating almost all my life. And so maybe with similar to this, maybe you find a guided meditation that helps you, that in a way feels like you're sitting in that silent space, even though it's not total silence, because I think it could still give you that experience and let you connect with it. Because it, for whatever reason, you know, the burnout from your job and expectations from people, even well-meaning people, and other things of the world, it feels that the way it's sitting inside here is enough that I don't know that it's going to go away easily on its own. I think it needs you to sit with it and just be there. Sometimes I try and even think of myself, if you know about like inner child and all that, it's like, okay, I'm the parent and I'm going to parent myself and then when I'm done, I go to bed. Here's the other thing I don't want to forget to tell you. I also will sometimes try and find something the next day or very soon after that feels very good to me. Maybe as like a reward or a person I like to see or an activity I really love doing. So find something like that for you after you have this quiet time, so that if you do feel drained after it, or it just puts you kind of in a bad headspace or emotional space, you've got this good thing coming to look forward to that'll get you back in a good space.
Yeah. Yeah. I could see myself try that.
Okay.
Yeah. I just remembered one time, indeed, mostly I do guided meditations
Ooh.
or I do breathing exercises, so it's not silent.
Oh, yes.
And one time I managed to be just completely silent, my mind silent, everything. And
Yes.
I just had this, that was like the first ever time I had that experience in meditation where you just like disappear, like dissolve. And I thought,
Yes.
okay. And of course it was like super scary. So I was like, whoop.
Yes.
But again, I thought like, if that's what's in the silence, I mean, bring it on.
Yes.
And then the next days I was like, it was like slowly dripping out, like
Yes.
then it came out.
Yeah.
But yes. So yeah, usually that's why I don't like sitting with the silence, because it's not very positive. But I guess yes, if there's something like a reward or just like sleeping and everything, I think that could help. Yeah, I think
Yeah, I think that would help too. And I don't know if you have any friends or people that you admire and enjoy where you are who also do yoga or do meditation, or who know what you're talking about with like the dauntingness of the silence. But that's also really nice too, of realizing that you're not alone and that other people are having maybe similar experiences or maybe different. Do you have any people who are near you who could be a community that you're a part of, or a mentor you work with, or something like that?
not near me, but online.
Oh, okay.
So I also just moved to my beautiful place, I think 6-7 months ago. So
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
it's also like there's a new environment, there's a new thing I'm doing.
Oh,
So
yes, that's a
Mm.
lot. And are you in a rural setting, like out in the country, or are there enough people nearby that you could go to meet people somewhere in your town?
So we are outside the city, but I could go to the city, but so far I haven't, and I think it's the same reason, because I'm scared of the silence.
Mm.
I also have that when I meet friends, and then afterwards I'm like, but now it's too silent. And not that I'm
Yes.
like exhausted, because I'm always exhausted after meeting friends and stuff. But there's that
Yes.
silence, and I'm like, cannot.
Yeah. Yeah. I see what you mean. And do you get exhausted after interacting with people online, or is that a little bit easier?
It's easier.
That's nice. And I wonder if some of the people who are either in your town or in the city, maybe some of them you could meet online first and kind of develop some of that relationship so that when you meet them in person, you don't have to do all the get to know you stuff, face to face, because that can be draining too.
Yeah, that's a good idea too. Yeah.
Yeah. Are there any yoga teachers or studios or classes anywhere within an hour's drive of you?
Within an hour, probably yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Not many, I think, but yes.
Oh, okay. Nice. And are there any spaces where if you wanted to lead something that there's a room where you could lead yoga in your town or not too far from you, or are you ready to do that type of thing?
There's a lot of space. It's like, also, I just sometimes go for a walk and I'm like, this is it. Like, there are also just these lookout towers, I think, but they're like gigantic, so there's like space, and I'm like, this is proper space.
Wow.
It's beautiful. But then again,
Wow.
there's the thing holding me back, and I'm like, come on.
Yes. Well, what if you decided, all right, next week I'm doing a yoga class at the Lookout Tower. I'm going to tell people who I think might be interested. If you decided to do it, could you do it or would you follow through with it, do you think?
I would. So usually, if I set my mind to it and I'm like, I'm going to do this now, and I just start,
Mm-hmm.
then I do it. But with the teaching and with the retreats and stuff, I just don't start. I'm like, there's this whole wall between me and starting. And that's a problem if you have a business.
Yes. Well, okay. And tell me this, when you started yoga, how did you make yourself do it so that you could practice it or become a yoga teacher training and all of that? Like, how did you tell yourself, okay, I'm going to do this?
With the training, I I was looking for something to be more in the community. And I thought, well, yoga doesn't really necessarily need language. So I also don't speak the language here. That doesn't help.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
and I have taught since then silent yoga classes, which is really cool. But
Ooh.
and how I started, I well, in my head it just needs some processing time or something, I think. And at
Mm-hmm.
one point I'm like, I just wake up and I'm like, today's the day, and I just signed up.
Mm-hmm.
And usually that's the case. Like, sometimes I think I want to try this new style or something of yoga, and I'm like, I will. And then 2 weeks later, today I'm going to do it.
Yes. Okay, okay. I'm glad you told me you didn't speak the language. I didn't, where you live. I didn't know that. So, how does this feel? What if you either start learning some of the language in a local class or online, and then tell whoever you meet that you can communicate with, I'm teaching a class at the Lookout Tower next Saturday at noon. And it's a silent yoga class, with the exception of you learn how to say in that language, welcome to yoga, or whatever you want to say at the beginning. You learn like your 2 lines to say at the beginning and 2 lines at the end, and maybe breathe in the language, because that's a good one. And because I do have a feeling there's when you talk about the block, I know that you love where you live, but the language barrier and the not knowing a lot of people, it's almost like there's all these other things that are creating natural blocks from you just going out doing your thing, because you can't necessarily just go out and start talking to a random person on the street if you don't know how to talk to them.
Mm.
So, and then this also perpetuates a feeling of you not being attached or connected to where you are. So if there's a place in the community that you could start taking language classes, I think that would be amazing. And knowing that it's going to be awkward, but if you're going to live there, you're going to want to communicate and have some level of community engagement there, because that makes you very happy to have a community where you live. And it will also make you very happy, I imagine, to have another language where you can speak to all of these people that you couldn't speak to before.
Yeah. So I have started taking classes, and my teacher is like,
Oh, good.
you're like an amazing student because you practice every day. You just go out and you go like, good morning, good
Yeah.
night, even if that's the only thing I taught you. So I actually know that it really helps, and I know that it also improves the things.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Oh, wonderful, wonderful. And is your teacher there where you live or
Actually, she
online?
lives really close by, but we do it online.
Oh, okay, okay. I know she's teaching you the language, but what if you told her, okay, I got an assignment from a psychic who's coaching me, or describe her however you need to in the language you're talking to her. And you could say, I need to teach a yoga class at one of the lookout towers. Where do you think I can find people to come? Who could I tell? How do I say to people? How do I make a flyer that says, good day, here's a yoga class on this day? Maybe you can bring that part of what you want to do into class a little bit and get her advice, because she knows the community. She's lived there. And she wants to help you. So, and it'll make your learning more real if you have another great reason to connect with the people there.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. So I feel like sometimes the block is also just like blocking the possibility, because yes, I can imagine the retreat, I can imagine all the things, but then I feel like, but the language and the thing.
Yes.
Mm.
Yes. And it makes me also think, the more I make and this is why I was asking how you started yoga before. Oh, and before I forget, that was my morning. So we're almost done, but we have about 5 minutes left. The activity of making yourself do things that you're not doing, that starting activity, I find once you're in a habit of doing it, it's easier to do. But it's like inertia. When you're not in a habit of doing it, it's harder to start things. But this going back to the bunny feeling energy that I was getting before, I'm just feeling this bouncy of, what if you tell yourself, I'm going to find something small every day that I do that's bouncing like a bunny into things, bounding forward, because I got the joy, I got the enthusiasm. And it doesn't have to be something big. I mean, if you're doing it every day, it's probably going to be something small. But if you do that for 7 days, for 30 days, and when I make myself do something like this, I typically print out, I'll send you a link and I'll put it below too, of like a 30-day tracking sheet where I'll sign off every day, or I'll write what I did in each little circle, and make it almost a little game or competition with myself of, okay, every day. Recently I did it every day. I was going to do something that other people might think is foolish, but I'm going to do it anyway. And by the 4th day, I felt so courageous. And I thought, I just started this 4 days ago. And now I'm like 8 days into it. So this was just recently that I've been doing this. Oh, my next person's here already. That's my invitation to you, is to start, if you wish, if you choose to accept it, find something like a small way to put yourself out there every day in a way that feels like this little bounding energy. It's not the huge thing of telling everyone you're running a retreat in 6 months. It's something small, and do that as frequently as possible. The smaller you can make it and the more frequently you can do it, the more you get yourself in this habit of starting new things. Yeah. All right. So before we go and the next person comes in, can you tell me or reflect upon was this helpful for you? Did it bring you more clarity? Is there something that can be supportive and applicable to your life?
Yes. Yes, I would say so. I think the block is there because of me, but
Mhm.
also because of everything that's happening around me. But
Mhm.
ultimately, it's up to me to,
Yes.
Yeah, and I think that's what, and also just the other things about the silence, to just sit with it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
like that. And I like the door analogy. It makes me think you can pick a door, any door, you can open it and then shut it immediately if you're like, that door's not for me, or you peep through the peephole first to see, do I want to open it? Okay, I'll open it a little bit. Tomorrow I open it more. Next week I'm going to walk through it.
Yeah.
So yeah, you've got all these doors. You can take it as slow as you want. Katie, it was so good to connect with you.
Thank you so much.
One of the quickest ways to change your frequency, your outlook about yourself, to tap back into self-love and feel grounded is spending time in nature and spending time with the trees. I highly recommend you get yourself a copy of my book, Talk to the Trees. It's a quick read so that even when you can't get out to the forest or to your garden or to your backyard, you can immerse yourself in the short chapters. They're just 2 or 3 pages each, and feel that frequency of the trees. Feel that consistency, that resiliency that they have, that self-love that just emotes through them. I know I'm using a lot of emotional words to describe this book to you, and the words that readers have described it are so emotional. Words like magical, transcendent, soothing, refreshing, peaceful. Any of those qualities that you want to bring into your life, reading Talk to the Trees, Wake Up to Wisdom, Wonder, and Calm is going to help you bring those back into your life. Click the link below to get a copy.